What's up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with your Meltdown Radio podcast with another edition of the Lone Wolf with Dub series. This time I'm doing 2009's Ninja Assassin. It is a martial arts film directed by James McTeague and the story and script by Matthew Sand and Straczynski. Film stars Rain, who is actually was part of a boy band called Fan Club, I think, at the time of this when it was made. So he's a K-pop star who is also an actor, and he is playing a disillusioned assassin looking for retribution against a former mentor played by the legendary Sho Kusugi, who over the years, movie like Into the Ninja, Rage for Honor, Black Eagle, as well as Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer. He came back for this film as far as an actor is concerned, like 20 years after not being acting in film. So kind of a neat thing that he showed up to be the main villain in this. This film also stars Naomie Harris, Rick Yune, who most people will recognize him as Johnny Tran from the Fast and Furious, the first film, and then Sung Kang, who plays Han in the Fast and the Furious franchise. So you'll recognize him as well in this. So that's kind of neat as well. Basically, Rain is playing Reizo, who is part of the Anzuni clan. As an orphan, he comes in and Sho Kusugi's character, let me get his name right here, Lord Azunu, who takes in orphans, trains to be assassins that work for different rich and the wealthy or even government to carry out assassinations for them. So Azuni basically takes these orphans in, trains them, but he's very hard on them. And it's also, he considers it like a way of life as well as a family. So if you ever saw Batman Begins and Liam Neeson's character with, Christian Bale, as well as in that film, like how he, trained Bruce Wayne early youth after his parents died to be this like warrior assassin of the Shadow Clan, I think they called him. This is a similar style where it's like you don't talk about it, you don't leave it, and that's the thing. Like Reizo said to himself, "I'm not gonna be a part of this," because he has something happen where one of his other a girl that he was friendly with, like you kind of taught not to have emotions in this clan. So it's like you're supposed to be cold as ice, and she wasn't like that. She was very rebellious and was actually trying to get out of the clan, but got caught. And at the time, he wasn't brave enough to stand up for her, so she ended up getting killed by Rick Yune's character, who's like the next in line, because really Reizo was the one being trained to be the replacement of Azunu when he passes on, because he's getting older and whatnot. So he was trying to train Reizo to be the replacement. Now, one of the main weapons that Reizo uses is a weapon called the Kurosawa Gama. And I'm sure people have seen this before. I think even to a degree, I figured her name in the Kill Bill franchise, the young girl that's kind of using this one. She has like a sort of like a mace or a mallet ball on the end of her chain, but works in the same manner. And apparently this particular weapon is very difficult to master. So from what I understand, Reizo Rain himself, the actor, trained extensively for 6 months, getting in fit, fight choreography and mastering the weapon. So that's pretty crazy in 6 months. I mean, I don't know how much he'll retain from that, but he's being trained by choreographers like Chad Stahelski, who of course does all the John Wick stuff in the ballerina film. He's the director of those. Peng Zhang, John Valera, and Jonathan Eusebio. So they're basically the people that were helping him get in shape. And Dulux felt as fuck in this film. So, and the way that he was able to wield this weapon around is pretty impressive. Considering I've seen people online on YouTube who try to practice this art as well, but they're not as fluent or fluid in terms of how they handle the weapon. But whereas Rain has done a very good job with that. There was a funny moment in the film where when Reizo gets tied up, he gets caught by Interpol, and one of the agents is looking at the screen because Reizo's in another room tied up against a wall, and this Interpol agent's sitting there and he's looking at the screen. He says, "I don't know, this guy don't look like he looks like he belongs in a boy band." And of course, that's when Reizo looks up at the camera, and it's just sort of a nod to the fact that Rain is actually a K-pop singer. So I thought that was kind of funny. I caught that when he did that. Also, Mateague, the director, he kind of took some influence from different movies, and that's one of them being Ninja Scroll, which Sci-Fi Century, myself, and a few others on his channel had reviewed that animated martial arts film from 1993. So kind of cool that he did some of that, taking some of the inspiration from that film as well. But yeah, basically, again, he's a young guy who, after he gets out of the clan, he's been spending the next few years kind of fighting back, trying to kill them, because even though they're still pursuing him as well, he he's just like opening scenes in a laundromat, just trying to do laundry, and there's a chick there who thinks she's going to try to, fool him into helping her and being all nice and sweet, and he figures it out pretty fast. He's like, what clan you from? And then they start a fight, and then next thing you know, he's cut her up and put her in one of the washers or whatever, or dryers. One of the only problems this film kind of suffers from a little bit is you can tell there's a lot of CGI blood and stuff like that. It's not all practical effects. So that kind of takes away from some of it. I mean, it's pretty gory if you like gory films, so that's not a bad thing per se. But you can tell there's like just people getting sliced in half way too easily by these blades and stuff, and it's kind of ridiculous looking at times. But at the same time, there's plenty of action in this, so I really, really enjoy a lot of it. The choreography seems very, very good. Again, Rain does a great job with his skill set in this. I've heard people say the plot device is not very interesting, but to me, there is a plot there. Like, it's not like it's not existing. And granted, they kind of like immortalize the ninjas a little bit, coming from the shadows, even though that's one thing that has always been talked about with the mythology of ninja and how they operate. But this one kind of just brings up another. I mean, they're literally coming from like the floorboards, almost like they're apparitions of sorts. And, that's just adding to the mythology of it all. But it does come off a little bit unrealistic when you're dealing with guys that are actually human and fighting. And there's, of course, Yune facing off against Rain. But yeah, so eventually he comes across a character, Europol agent called Mika, who's played by Naomie Harris. And she's been talking to one of her other agents about the possibility of ninja assassins actually taking out people. And she's catching on to some of the stuff, but eventually gets a video of Rain, who's leaving one of the assassinations that he did. And I think really Reizo's point was to basically oust the clan, as if he was trying to show that there are ninja assassins who are committing assassins for different corporations or rich people, politicians or whatever. So by putting his face out there, he's kind of like letting the other world see that there are there. And so they kind of go after him. They try to find Reizo, and she comes across him when she herself becomes the target of the clan, the assassination of the clan. So they come to try to kill her, and then Reizo saves her from death. And they kind of join forces at that point to unravel. And his thing is all about revenge. He wants to destroy the clan, mainly because he knows they're kind of a bad group anyway, but also because of what they did to the young girl, Kariko or something. That's the one that was killed in the clan that was so rebellious. But his is all about revenge, but for the agents and everything, they're just trying to stop them from doing these assassinations. And so there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of chasing, a lot of fighting, a lot of ninjas getting killed. Basically, there's actually a really good fight between Reizo and Ozunu before he leaves the clan, because he's trying to leave, but he had one job left to kill another female traitor that was trying to leave the clan, and so he's faced with that. Like, in order to succeed Ozunu, he has to kill this girl, but he won't do it. Therefore, they end up fighting, and he cuts Ozunu's face, leaving him blind in one eye. But they all think that he's dead because they fucked him up pretty good. The Chinese star, the throwing stars are pretty. I have a couple of real ones myself. They're no joke. I can literally throw it at the wall and it will stick. Like, that's, people think they have real throwing stars, and in reality they're not. Like, the ones I have, like sharp blades, are very heavy. Like, I wouldn't say heavy, but heavier enough to the point that it would hurt. Like if I threw it at somebody, it would stick in them. That's how bad it is. But he took a lot of those and a lot of cuts from swords and stuff like that when he was fighting them on the rooftop. So, and he fell back down to some, like, the bay or something, the dock, whatever it was, and they assumed he was dead, but he had survived. Of course, that led to our present day, where he's continuing to fight against them to get rid of them and what they stand for. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and there's not very high marks. Both the critics and the audience really didn't like it too much. But personally, for me, this is what I would consider, like with Samurai's, is it really that bad series? Because this, to me, isn't that bad. Like, it's not a perfect movie. Like, this isn't something I would call a 10 out of 10. It's more of an 8 out of 10 for me. But I find it enjoyable enough. Like, it's enjoyable enough. It's certainly not as low as some of the scores I see other people give it. Like, I think it's kind of misleading in that regard. I think this film is so very much enjoyable enough to people who can enjoy it enough to have fun with it, because that's really all it's about, is just having some fun. I think I didn't know much about Rain even before or after this movie. Like, I don't know what he's doing these days. But he did a good job. He looked the part, and he spending 6 months learning martial arts and how to use the weapons. Like, that's dedication, man. Like, when you're putting it in there and doing the job, and he acts fine. He has some little quirky moments with Mika. You could argue maybe they needed a better script a little bit, but overall, like, I don't think this is a really bad movie at all. I think it's pretty decent for what it is. And even though the budget was $30 million and it made 60, which probably broke even, that's not too bad. I have to wonder how many theaters it went to, because I remember the trailers for it when it came out, but it wasn't like it was being promoted heavily. Like, you weren't seeing the trailer like every 10 minutes, So certainly, and then it, like, the final kill scenes between Rick Yune's character Takeshi and, of course, Lord Ozunu. Like, the final battles with Reizo in this are pretty good. Again, a little bit crazy because they do the whole, like, faster than light, ninja moving around and stuff like that. But in the end, both of them are pretty good as far as, like, the fight scenes and stuff, just albeit a little dark. And I think they did that because they wanted to use the ninja stuff involved there, which plays out all right. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. How do you feel about it? Do you think it's as bad as most of the critics and audience feels about it? Do you agree with me? Maybe it's a little bit better than that. I don't know if I would ever want, like, a sequel or anything to this, but I would curious if Rain had gone and done any more of these type of films, because at the time, I mean, he's older now, he's like 42, but I think that he'd probably do a pretty good job with this. So I haven't really kept up on what he's doing outside of this. So give me your thoughts, like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support. If you guys have any requests for you want me to do on Lone Wolf, like what kind of movie would you want me to review? I have my own movies that I plan on reviewing in the future, obviously. But if you have something in particular you want me to look at that maybe I haven't seen and probably should review for this channel, let me know. I'll be glad to do it for you. Other than that, coming up this week, I've got Ghouls at Midnight. I got my pick, How to Kill Monsters. We'll be doing that tomorrow. And then, of course, Mr. Tony's pick, which is Clown in a Cornfield. So we'll be reviewing both these flicks on Ghouls at Midnight. Friday, I've got the Kaiji Spotlight with Jedi Grand Veil for Gyra, the one half of the War of the Gargantua. So we're going to discuss that particular kaiju this time around. And then later in the evening, usually it's Saturdays, but because we got something going on with Neko and I on Saturday, I'll be with Holden on Friday night for Silver Screen Savants. And it's my pick this time, which will be the For Your Eyes Only, James Bond, Roger Moore, horror stuff. So be looking for that throughout the week. And again, I appreciate all the support here, and we'll see you next time on the Lone Wolf with Dub on Metal Town Radio Podcast.